Hey, good evening. Welcome to episode 22 of the Wulong Talks podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jason. I hope you're having a great evening if you're listening to us live. And if you're listening to this as a recording via iTunes or Stitcher or Acast, well, it's a nice evening and we hope it's a nice evening wherever you are. I'm joined as usual by the crew. So, first of all, let me introduce Big A, the man geek up north. Alvin, say what's up.
What's up, peeps?
And of course, the Rustling Kid is here as well. Rich Kid. Rich, say how you doing, man?
Hello there.
Wicked, wicked. Yeah, man. So how you been, guys? Yeah, you been up to anything cool this week?
Alvin?
Why do you always wait for me to go first? I don't understand that.
Because usually when I try to go first, he might try to have a go at me. But okay, listen, this is started off already from nothing. Alvin, just go first. Yeah.
Sorry, your question was what I've been up to. Attack on Titan, Boku no Hero Academia.
Mhm.
Just been chilling and watching shit really. And Attack on Titan season 2 has been pretty fucking good so far. A massive revelation was revealed, but they did it in such a way where it was like shocking. I love that show. It's still fucking great. That's pretty much it. Not been gaming much, unfortunately. Haven't got through all of last week's comics, but getting there.
Yeah, I'm still struggling with Fez, man. I'm like really struggling with it, to the point that I'm quite embarrassed because it's like I'm really finding it difficult.
There's lots of hidden things in that as well. You'll get there.
Yeah. I'm not gonna give up yet, but I'm struggling with it. Rich, how about you, man? Doing anything?
I've just been watching. I did American Gods. Was that this week or was that last week? I did American Gods. No, I think I did American Gods last week. The first episode. I haven't watched the second episode yet, but I've just been watching Sense8, which is I'm a big fan of the Wachowskis and the work that they do. Even like the bad work that they do. I like that they try to do something different. This shows is 2 good seasons in a row, man, which is really really good. But yeah, that's what I've been doing, and I haven't even been binge watching it either. I've been doing it, say like maybe 2 episodes a day, or the last few days it's been like 1 episode a day. Take it a bit more and appreciate it. So yes, that's what I've been doing.
Cool. Well, it's good that you brought that up actually, because this week's episode, listeners, we're going to be talking about TV. If you're any kind of geek, then you've probably been spending a lot of time watching TV over the past couple of years. One of the things, if you're of our age group, because Alvin's a bit younger, but if you're of our age group, then you would have noticed, particularly over the last decade, how television has changed dramatically, both in terms of the type of content that we get and the way that we view that content and the way that we enjoy it, basically. So nowadays, for you younger listeners out there who are listening, you've got myriad options and various different ways, thanks to technology, of accessing the latest shows that you want to watch, or watching episodes that you've missed and things like that. Whereas obviously back in our day, it was get the VHS out and set that to record. And by the way, I don't know if you two know this, but when I had a VHS in my family home when I was growing up. For those who don't know, VHS is videotape. And if you don't know, then boy, you really are young. But we had a VHS player, and this is to show you how old this VHS player is. It had a remote control that had to be physically plugged in to the player itself in order for it to be used, because infrared technology wasn't available for the public to use at that point. So I think it was a Ferguson or something like that, which is, again, for listeners who are young, that's a really old British electronics manufacturing brand that died out years ago. But yeah, it was an old VHS with a kind of plug-in remote control. Like how old is that? Like you plug the remote control physically into the VHS unit in order to control it. So basically like a wired games console controller. That's basically what it was. Do you not remember like your first TV, having your first TV in your bedroom or anything like that? And what was it like compared to the kind of things that you have now? Alvin, what was your first TV like at home?
The family TV, it was a Panasonic. So we had a decent brand, as was the VHS player as well.
Oh, you lot
Yeah,
had
man.
money.
Wait, was it a Panasonic? Was it? No, it was a Philips. I tell a lie. The VHS was Panasonic and the TV was a Philips. That's what it was. I remember that. We had that thing for ages. Like we did not like renew it for a long time. And yeah, no. I remember fun memories of that TV and watching like gladiators on it and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what we had.
Mm-hmm. Rich, how about you? What was your first TV that you bought for yourself?
That I actually bought or that
Yeah,
I
one that
had.
you actually bought for yourself. So one
Okay.
that you went out to the shops and said, "Yeah, I need a new TV," and bought a TV for yourself. What was the first one that you bought?
Mine was a Samsung. You know it, Jay. Samsung. Like, and it
Was
was
that
funny
seriously the
because it
first
was a
TV you bought for yourself? That Samsung one.
yeah. Because every TV I'd had before then was just a TV that used to belong in the living room. Then they got an upgrade.
Oh, right. So you got the
Yeah,
hand-me-downs. Okay.
yeah. So like, but physically out there, went out there, and I was like, okay, listen, I'm going to get this, and it was a flat screen TV, not 100% flat, but more like a bubble,
Mm.
like half bubble, but the back was fat. It was almost like it played with like your eyesight because it looked like a flat screen TV like what we get now, but the back was just fat. It was like a what was it? It was like a truck. It was like you could sit on it and stuff like that. But it was a Samsung, and I think it was 28 inches, and I think I got it for 199 as part of a deal with a video recorder and I think I think a little sound system or just a video recorder. But yeah, I remember getting that. I got it like 2000. Yeah, not yeah, maybe 2000.
Cool. Yeah, I remember like buying my first TV. I think it was in it would have been God 1990. Let me think now. Let me think because I got my first job, which was a weekend job, working at Primark. So
No.
you
Sorry to interrupt you, Jay.
listeners would know
Not
that.
Primark. Sorry to interrupt you, Jay. It wasn't Primark. What was it? Because we need to remind these people how things have changed. It wasn't Primark. Remember? Wasn't it Mark One?
Oh yeah, well no. When I started, it was Primark. Yeah. Back in the day, it was called Mark Five. Yeah. But yeah, when I started there, it was Primark. But literally, it's completely unrecognizable from the Primark that you know today. Like the company has completely changed. But yeah, I had a Saturday job there, and I used to get paid. How much was it now a month? I think it was about 200 quid a month. I used to get paid for that. So my first paycheck, I went out and I bought a Hitachi TV that had a video player built in because we used to always rent videos from the local video store. We had a video store down the road from us called Star Video. And every Friday is like a treat. My mum would let us go and rent a movie or something like that. So as I got older, I kind of got into, having my own account and renting videos from there. So one of the first things I did as soon as I got my first paycheck was like, yep, I'm going to buy myself a TV combi, because that's what they called it back then. So TV combis that had the VHS player built inside. So it meant that I could watch like my hentai and I could watch whatever the hell I wanted in peace without interruptions or having to sneak around at night when everybody had gone to bed to put the video in so I could play it. So yeah, I did that, and that was my first TV, and it was, God, the screen size must have been about the size of my laptop screen now, so about 19 inches, 19, 20 inches, I think it was. And as said, it had the built-in VHS player in it as well, and it was an old CRT TV for those of you listening who remember that technology. It was like, so basically the rear of it, as Richard said, was like a truck. It was enormous. But that of course was to house all the technology and things like that in there. But it's just funny, it got me thinking about kind of how much television has changed, both in a technological sense and in a way people's habits have changed, and how things have rapidly changed, especially it seems almost in the last 5 or 6 years. There've just been leaps and bounds in terms of the pace of technology and what it can do to change the way that we watch TV. Now you look at some TV shows, the likes of Game of Thrones and American Gods, which we'll get onto, and things like that, which production values are so high in terms of like what they're capable of delivering on the small screen, that they rival movies. And TV shows have started to do that as well in terms of their ability to tell these grand stories, but tell them in a way that works within the TV medium. Whereas in the past, some of these stories would have been like, no, you got to chop that down to 2.5 hours and make it a movie. Now it's very, very, very acceptable to tell a lengthy story with high production values, but do it in a TV and things like that. You now have things like, Netflix and chill becoming part of the popular culture and popular vocabulary for people who watch TV as well. And, as little as 5 years ago, Netflix and chill, what the hell was that? Like, but, now that's a thing. You can say Netflix and chill to anybody, almost anybody around the world, and they know what you're talking about. So, the landscape for television has changed. So guys, I wanted to start off by asking the both of you, like, have you observed how your kind of TV viewing habits have changed over the last 5 years in any way, and what have been sort of the dramatic differences, and have they been good things or bad things with those changes? So I'll start with you, Richard.
Yeah, I actually don't watch as much TV as I used to. It's weird. Like I don't, like you. I don't know if this is how it was for you back in the day, Jay. But like you'd come home and like you'd have your set programs that you would watch. Remember, we only had like 4 channels for X amount of time. 6. We got like the 5th channel, and then obviously if you had cable, you had Sky, then you were blessed. But you would come home and you'd sit down, you'd watch TV, and you'd watch like a block set from like 7:30, 11:30. You might jump between one channel to the next, but you literally just sit down. Now I don't even do that anymore. Like I just, because like now you're able to download or you're able to stream things. TV might always be on, necessarily be watching. Pardon me, might not even necessarily be watching it. So mine has changed like yeah, ridiculously, man. Like now is in my household, it's usually just a music channel on in the background, noise, until maybe a channel is on, or like you said, because you can now watch things on demand. So if you missed a TV show from yesterday, it's there. So yeah, so I mean, it's become so easy that I think is even somewhat taken the fun out of watching TV, somewhat, so to speak. Like I remember, like you used to be able to sit down and like you'd have your moments of family time watching a particular program. It's not that so much that anymore because everything is so accessible. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm not sure if it's necessarily taken the fun out. I think what technology has done is changed the way that people do things, because what I noticed over the last 5 years in particular is that people have almost like these streaming parties now, where when a big show is being released, or a big web series is being released on one of the streaming platforms, people will actually invite other people around to their house. They might cook, they might bring food around with them or order a takeaway, and they'll sit there and they'll watch the shows and then talk about the shows. And that's something that I've seen change a lot, and I think some families do that now as well. I mean, granted, there isn't a hell of a lot of necessarily a hell of a lot of content that families can watch together, in a sense that everybody from the young child to the adults can watch together. But there's still that. I think that thing is still there. It's just kind of changed in the way from where we used to kind of schedule our day around it, because there was a live broadcast on of some show that we all wanted to watch at 8 o'clock. So we'd all kind of schedule our days around that, and then the family would convene in the living room and watch that show. Nowadays it's as you said, because we can download things, stream things, it's different. It's not, there's no need to do that anymore, really. But it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. So Alvin, I mean, out of the three of us, I think you're somebody who really does a lot of kind of streaming and downloading in terms of watching your TV shows and things like that. Is there anything now that you can think of that you actually watch live anymore, as in like switch on a TV to watch a live broadcast of it, or is it pretty much everything you watch via web services and streaming services now?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that I still kind of just tune in and kind of watch when they're actually on. Embarrassingly, some of it is just really trashy reality TV that I just need to have just so I can say I'm better than those people, although they're richer than me. But like, I do watch Doctor Who, like obviously when it's when it's broadcast, just to avoid spoilers. Other than that, you know what? I can't really think of a Game of Thrones as well. I watch. I usually watch that. Well, I usually watch the premiere of that when it's broadcasted in America, when it's on Sky Atlantic at the same time. And I'll watch kind of like the last episode also when it's broadcast in America as well, because they show the whole season at the same time now, and then they show it the next day at 9 p.m. But other than that, I can't think of that many things where I go, oh, I must watch this at this time. I think a lot of that catch up has kind of changed everything as well, because it's now, you don't have to do the whole VHS thing, or you don't even have to Sky Plus it. You can just go, fuck it, I'll watch it online later, and that's it. It's sorted. So to be honest, I actually don't know why I still pay for Sky. I have no idea. Like, I don't like most of the stuff I watch on it. You can either find online legally, or you can find online via other means. So I don't really know if there's a point. I think I just have it just to have it, just because it's easy, to be honest.
That was actually going to be my next question to you both as well, because I've found recently at home that I'm watching increasingly less and less television via the satellite TV provider Sky. For those of you who not from the UK who are listening, Sky is the biggest cable TV provider, I guess you described them as, in the UK, and they had a long period where they were very dominant in the marketplace, and they still are. I mean, technically, the company is still the biggest choice for people throughout the UK for alternative TV viewing, aside from the traditional terrestrial broadcasts via the 5 terrestrial channels that we traditionally had, and the other channels that have been added on since the Freeview revolution. But Sky has become less and less relevant in my household. I think I generally turn on the TV in the morning to watch the news while I'm getting ready for work, so I can keep an eye on what's going on in the world, and that's it. Our living room skybox can go days, weeks without being turned on, because we can access anything we want to watch via the internet now, and via catch-up services and web services. So the question I was going to ask was basically, does traditional kind of means of television still play any part? Alvin kind of answered that, I guess. So same question to you, Rich. Does do traditional Sky TV play any role for you? Because I know you've slowly started to move away from that as well. So is it still playing any part in your day-to-day?
No, not really. I mean, if it is, like I said, if it's it might be a music channel playing in the background channel, then it's usually some form of like children's channel when Luke is watching TV. And then, like you said, like then I might, it might be like for certain things, so Game of Thrones, Walking Dead. But it's like that. It's just doesn't really play a part in my life anymore. It's just there. It's almost like a like a piece of furniture that you don't want to get rid of. That's what it's like. Like, I mean, we've had discussions about getting rid of Sky, and I'm like, no, you don't get rid of my Sky. And then they're like, yeah, but what do you watch? I watch the square thing. What, the TV? Yeah. What do you watch in it? The images, the things that move. Is there a show that you watch in particular? No. So let's get rid of it. No, but I don't want to. I throw a proper strop. When we got rid of like the children's like Sky Disney things like Rebels and like Marvel's Avengers, yeah, man, I was vexed. I'm not gonna lie, I was angry, man. And then obviously, but went to like the whole streaming and downloading stuff. But like what Alvin said, I think that the TV now is just it's just there. That's just it's just something. It's like an extra thing there. It's like an extra added app on your phone that you might use once in a while. But I'm sorry, but yeah, but you know, you were talking about the Netflix and chill. Like I said, I'm gonna talk about this is how old me and Jay are. Jay, if you think about it, we never had Netflix and chill, but you know what we did have? We had want to come over and watch a DVD. Do you remember that talk there?
Yeah, true. Do
you remember that
But
talk?
I mean, it's just yeah. I mean, no, that's very true. That's very true. But I mean, it was more. I guess my point was more how, because I guess we can start transitioning into like the second part of the question, which was going to be, you know, how have individual companies changed the way that you view. But I guess it's more the fact that it's not even a technology anymore. It's not even like you say, do you want to come over and stream something at my house? Like Netflix as a company, they must be, you know, they're whoever the owner of that company is. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I do remember, but well, I do know his name, but I can't remember. But he must be rolling on the floor laughing because his company name has got so much free publicity from people out of this Netflix and chill thing. Like so much, you know, Netflix has almost become synonymous with streaming, even though there are multiple options out there for whatever it is you want to do, you know, whether that be movies, TV, sports, you know, documentaries, religious stuff, whatever. Netflix has his name has become synonymous with this activity, you know. You hear people saying all the time, oh, you know, you might tell them about a TV show and they'll go, oh, is it on Netflix? Oh, or I'll Netflix it, you know. Even though that particular show is not on Netflix, that it's become a part of culture now, that people kind of, you know, people kind of add into to the culture and into the language. So yeah, it just, to me, I've just found that stuff fascinating, how it's just kind of changed the way everybody seems to interact with the stuff that they like to watch. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy to see. But yeah, I was going to say, you know, what are some of like you lot's favorite streaming channels at the moment? And we'll stick to legal ones for now. But yeah, you know, so in terms of like the things that you find you're using on a day-to-day basis, what specific channels or specific company services are you using more often? Rich, you can go first.
Like you said, man, like Netflix. Like I think they've got it. Like they've cornered the market. That's your go-to. Like I think when the internet goes down, those are probably, like for me, those are the two things that go through my head. Stuff or look up random nonsense on Wikipedia, and I'm not going to be able to watch Netflix. That's what it is. So yeah, it's basically Netflix the first thing I go to, and then if I can't find something on Netflix, if I want to try and I might go to Amazon, start getting into that whole, you know, like now I've got too much choice. And then, like before you know it, you're searching for something to watch for about an hour before you make up your mind, and then it's bedtime. But Netflix is my main go-to that I used to stream and watch, you know, whether it be TV shows or films.
We'll come back to what you said about Amazon, because that was going to be one of my later questions, which is what is some of the downsides of having what we have at the moment. But Alvin, yeah, for you, what's kind of your go-tos really?
Well, I can't really answer the question because I'm a bit dodgy in it. But but I will say this though, like if there was a streaming service that also offered live TV as well, just I'd get it tomorrow, like through the internet, not through no shitty Skybox or anything like that, and it was cheap as well. I'd fucking get it right away, because then you got the best of both worlds in it. You can tune into live stuff, and then you can also kind of like watch streaming stuff. I'd like to see like Amazon or Netflix do that at some point, because that's just nice to have then, because then you've, like I said, you got the best of both worlds in that. But yeah, I've seen a lot of Amazon stuff, and I've used Amazon like properly before in the past. I wasn't too keen on the UI for it. It does seem like a bit it's not easy to see what's out there, what's on there, you know what I mean, in each of the categories. That's how I found it anyway. But other than that, now, you know what, using those services in the past, like, they're fine, you know what I mean, they do the job well. And it's like Quality Street, in it, you know what I mean, you just pick what you fucking like and just watch it, and that's it. It's that easy. It's literally that easy.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think that the greatest kind of thing that streaming has brought to us is convenience. Now we can access things so easily. I mean, the amount of times I notice on my morning commute into work, people, catching up with TV shows on their phone or on their tablet or something like that, is just crazy. It's so easy. Whereas, as said, as little as 5, 10 years ago, that might have been problematic, but now it's, the technology is at our fingertips to do all of these things, and it means we never have to feel like we've missed a show, or you can't get involved in the discussions that people are having around the TV show that was broadcast last night because you missed it, so you've got to wait till you get home and then watch it on your VHS or your DVD or your hard drive or whatever. And you don't even have to do that now. Now you can just get an app on your phone or your tablet and away you go, and catch up with everything when you want on the train. So yeah, it's amazing the way that the pace of technology has kind of changed these things, and has opened so many doors for us to do all of these things as well. So yeah, man, it's crazy, and it looks like it's here to stay because, as said, the pace of technology is not slowing down. So it looks like we're in for the long haul. Now, us three being geeks, of course, we consume a lot of stuff that's based around sci-fi and comic books and things like that. Well, comic books in particular, I guess. Although, no, I'd technically say, what would you say, guys? Maybe 50-50, like sort of comic books as opposed to sci-fi and fantasy and things like that, or would you say it's more kind of comic book related stuff that you're watching at the moment? Alvin.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, I think just because of obviously the big comic book boom that's been over the last like 5 years or what have you. Like, yeah, I watch like a lot of comic book related stuff, a lot of comic book related shows. Sci-fi wise, it's not like how it used to be. I think the kind of like the comic book stuff has kind of swooped in and taken over some of that area. But no, pretty much thinking of sci-fi shows that I watch right now, like just true like sci-fi, just Doctor Who. I'm about to watch The Expanse like this summer, and I used to watch Continuum when that was on, and Fringe. But yeah, this is going back. So yeah, right now as it stands, it's literally only Doctor Who.
Rich, how about you, man? Would you say it's about half and half, sort of comic book stuff as opposed to sci-fi stuff, or is it about, or is there more leaning one towards the other?
I think like Alvin said with the comic book boom, but it just depends at any given moment, at any given time. Like I remember there was a point like when I was like just killing the comic book shows. Like there was like Arrow, then there was Flash, and then then there was like Daredevil and Luke Cage and stuff like that. But mine's just a mixture. I don't think I don't even watch that much comic book stuff. Really, like I don't watch for someone who reads comic books as well. I mean, I don't watch Agents of Shield. I don't watch Arrow or Flash anymore. It's only like a few. And as for the sci-fi, I mean, I think the last sci-fi thing that I was watching was Sense8, and before that, I couldn't even tell you. It's just a mishmash, but it's somehow in one way like maybe something geeky. But yeah, mine's just more of a mishmash. Whereas like back in the day, it'd be like that's all I would watch.
And is there anything that you guys have would say you started to watch or have watched, at any point, that you probably previously wouldn't have watched if it wasn't for the fact that you're able to access what you're after so simply? So for example, I mean, I've always been like a big fan of documentaries and things like that, so I love documentaries because I've always loved learning. And I find I'm watching documentaries about all kinds of things now because I'm able to just stream it instantly. Whereas, in the past, as much as I loved them, I wouldn't necessarily, schedule my day around like something that was being broadcast on TV, about wildlife in Borneo or something like that. Whereas now, because it's all in one place via the internet and via these streaming apps, I can basically get what I want when I want. So for you two, have you found that you've picked up anything more or less because of the way that we're able to watch TV shows now? Alvin, you can go first.
Because of the likes of Crunchyroll, probably more anime. Because before that, I couldn't. Like, you'd have to just go on like you'd have to just get a DVD box set and hope that someone like suggesting something to you and it turns out to be good and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Crunchyroll has. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have watched Attack on Titan when it first started. Yeah, definitely the anime stuff. Yeah, because they've got a lot of stuff on there. So, and you can be a free user and watch stuff for free. It's just ads that they'll have like throughout the show and that, like a couple of ads. But yeah, no, definitely anime. Yeah, I can't think of really anything else because I'm quite set in my ways, so I kind of know what stuff I kind of like and that. But yeah, like I said, it's definitely because we don't really have that much anime on TV in the UK. I can't think of a single channel that shows any apart from the kids channel showing Pokemon or Naruto back in the day and that. So like, yeah, man, that's definitely been a good one, Crunchyroll.
Cool. Rich, how about you? Have you started watching things that you wouldn't necessarily have watched in the past because you've got access to streaming now?
No, not really, because I've always liked all types of TV and things like that. And obviously, like with the boy, like I got to pick and choose what I can and can't watch sometimes as well. But I'll tell you one thing. Or one genre that I've never really been into, but I've got into. But if we're talking about this new age of like being able to get TV shows whenever you want, Game of Thrones. I've never actually been a fan of like any form of fantasy. Like I like sci-fi and I like comic book and geeky stuff, but that genre of like dragons and knights and things like that never really did anything for me.
Heroic fantasy kind of thing.
I can tell you as to why that is as well.
Why?
Why? Because it was cheap. All that shit used to be so cheap. All that shit was like just in a field. Whereas Game of Thrones has the production value in it. It's got the epicness.
Although I won't knock it. I mean, back in the day, I was a Xena and Hercules.
Yeah. Obviously, it's standard, in it. Yeah. But like most of those other shows were just like, nah, man.
Yeah. That's a fair point. Yeah, they're probably because they were cheap. But I think that's probably the only thing that's been added. I'm like, oh, okay. I would never watch this back in the day. But yeah.
Cool.
Because I've always been fans of documentaries. So yeah.
All right, cool. Well, I'm going to throw you lot on the spot now. So here we go. As we're all geeks, as you know, listeners, we're going to try and rank our top 5 favorite comic book TV shows. So you guys, have you got any ideas of what you'd put in your top 5? And you can do it in reverse order, or you could start with number 1 to number 5 if you like. But I'm going to throw this one out to you, Richard, first. So you got any ideas?
I've got a top 3.
Okay. Yeah? You can give me your top 3. That's cool.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this will be in this order, right? Incredible Hulk, 1970s TV show.
Sick.
Like, just perfect. Like just simple and perfect. Every single week, and I think I've mentioned this before, like how I like the simplicity 70s and 80s TV shows, whereas like they're so simple that is actually not simple. It's like, god damn it, like it's the same show every week, but I just love it, and I like that. I like that about the Incredible Hulk, where my thing that I think a really good story is, like I've always said before, is that if you can take it out of its setting and place it somewhere else, convey that story, then you're onto a winner. And Incredible Hulk, the 70s TV show, is a prime example of that. The Incredible Hulk 70s TV show was easily like, remember the show The Fugitive? Any of you guys remember the show?
Yeah. I remember The Fugitive.
I'm young and pretty.
The Fugitive, and it was changed to the film by Harrison Ford. So basically, it was this guy who was on the run, who was trying to clear his name, and every week he ended up going into like another town and helping people who were less fortunate than themselves at expense to maybe clearing his name. And that's what the Incredible Hulk was. It was just about a good person who's had come a bit of a shitty time, and he's trying to do the right thing. Just that he happened to trade to a big green monster, which scared the fucking life out of me. So I mean, that was my number 1. My number 2 was actually Daredevil, Netflix.
Cool.
Just for the simple fact that it was just, I mean, don't get me wrong, it has its flaws, like like a lot of the, if you're talking about the Marvel Netflix TV shows, it has its flaws, obviously, but I think the balance and the realism that was put to it, good. And Daredevil, even if you're a fan, you have to take that plunge and say, listen, this guy, this character he's a B-list, C-list character at best. But I think they balanced the things that, if you're a fan, they balance the things of like him being a superhero and his, his torment, and also his day, his day job of like being a lawyer. That balanced it perfectly. And I remember, like, when we first watched the first season, Jay,
Hmm.
like Law and Order, but with like, but just one of them just happens to be like a vigilante superhero with powers, but it just works. And I think that's the reason why, like, I put that for number two, just because it's taken a very, very different approach, especially for a TV show, and especially for a character that isn't really known. And I think it's made some definitely made some good waves. Three was the Batman. Hold on, was it meant to be like a one for one? Like I do one, then Alvin does one.
No. But you don't need to explain like too long for
Okay.
each thing. So you can
Okay,
just
cool. Okay, cool.
name
No,
it,
because I was
give
gonna
a brief,
say, if that,
brief reason why, and then that's it.
cool. I was gonna say, because I don't really care for Alvin, but but
we know.
but the Batman '60s TV show, just pure royal campiness at its finest, and I think it introduced a lot of people to the Batman character, like really talk smack about it. But I think there's actually nothing wrong with it, and it put into place a few things for quite a few villains that have become mainstays in comic book history now and in the films. But I mean, I could wax lyrics about that all night. But like you said, can't talk too much. So yes, for my number three, Batman the '60s TV show with Adam West and Burt Ward.
Cool. Okay. Alvin, how about you, man? Do you got a top five?
You know what? I tried, yeah, but it's fucking difficult because there's a lot out there, and there's a lot of old stuff. Like I didn't even think of the Incredible Hulk, but that's a great show. I know the TV movies for that are great as well. But yeah, number one on my list was Daredevil, just because I expected it to be good. What I got was 10 times better than good. You know what I mean? All the shit that they did, all the fight scenes and all that, and just the story in general. It was just, and grounding it and doing something grounded in the MCU was like a stroke of genius. So yeah, Daredevil is kind of at number one. The rest are all kind of like, I didn't quite number them, but I got Legion in there as well, just because out of all the superhero shows that have like come in the last like however many years, this was probably the most different, and it was kind of refreshing because it wasn't the same kind of stuff. It wasn't that generic. It was quite different in the way it did pretty much everything, which was really good. It was also funny in places as well. But yeah, definitely the most visually kind of interesting, especially with like scene transitions and whatnot, and the way in which the story is told also. And then I got Lois and Clark, or as it was called, The Adventures of Superman over here, just because when I was a kid, man, on a Saturday, that was my show. You know what I mean? And even though like most of the time, if I remember correctly, you kind of sometimes you'd see him fly, right? But when he would go off to fly, it would be like he'd just jump off camera, and then you'd hear the whoosh. You know what I mean? It's shit like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it was just a good show, man. That was a goofy Superman show, and I just really fucking enjoyed the show. And also I've got in here another Superman related show, just because I was kind of like at the right age group for it. And again, they did things like with CGI that no one else was doing on TV in order to tell the story that they were telling, and that's Smallville. Because like I know the later seasons especially aren't that great, but they tried to do a lot of mad stuff and like pretty much pulled it off for the time as well. And you know, without shows like that, you don't get kind of like the new CW superhero shows either. So yeah, that's on there as well. I didn't get a 5.
Cool. Fair enough. Well, I'll give you lot briefly my own list. So number 5 was The Flash. I really like enjoy the Flash. I mean, admittedly, I haven't gone like too deep into the recent season. I know it started and I just haven't caught up with it because there's just too much else going on. But I remember that from the first pilot episode, I really just fell in love with the actors, really, with Grant Gustin as Barry Allen, I thought was just tremendous. I felt the um, Candice Patton, who plays Iris West, is just great. She's stunning. She's funny. She's charming. She's just everything. Cisco is just brilliant, a brilliant character as well. Really funny, really relatable. And that's what I liked about the TV series with the Flash. The Flash, with DC characters, sometimes there's this tendency to make them, because they are almost godlike beings in terms of the kind of power that they wield and the way the kind of themes that they have to deal with. They kind of feel a bit distant sometimes, and I've always found it difficult to relate to comic book characters that are distant. But with the Flash, and particularly with the recent Flash TV show, they've actually made the Flash relatable. And I think that's part of why that show has been so successful, is because they've been able to strip away a bit to the bits of the mythology that are kind of really nerdy and geeky and sort of you in a sweaty basement reading a comic book nerding out over the intricacies of the Speed Force and things like that. They've stripped away with that, all of that. They've boiled it down to the basics, or certainly in the first two seasons that's what they did. So for me, the Flash is my number 5. I couldn't come up with a number 4 because I had to put Luke Cage and Jessica Jones as joint third, because I couldn't separate them on any given day. I'll tell you one, I find one better than the other, and that tends to change from day to day. So they're there. Daredevil is at number 2. I kind of didn't want to put Daredevil number 1 just purely because the second half of that second season still bugs me a little bit in terms of the way that it's done. So yeah, I couldn't quite, but the first season was I thought was fantastic. So Daredevil is number 2, and number 1 is Batman the Animated Series, because like Batman the Animated Series, when I first saw it, was just like mind blowing. The art style that Bruce Timm used or was inspired by his artwork, that they used in the series, that kind of like gothic 1940s feel, gave it a real sense that it was coming straight from the original Detective Comics. On top of that, you had Kevin Conroy as the voice of Batman, who is the one and true Batman in my opinion. As far as I'm concerned, that's my Batman. My Batman is Kevin Conroy. If you've got a problem with that, deal with it. But that show was just terrific. Mark Hamill as the Joker. I mean, who knew Mark Hamill was going to be the best Joker ever? Like, who knew that? Until that show came along, and then suddenly you got Mark Hamill in this show just killing it. And then on top of that, they introduced Ra's al Ghul. They created Harley Quinn, this character that is now wildly popular around the world. That you can thank that TV show for introducing that character to the world. And just all the things they did with their storytelling and the way that they did it, it felt like you were watching an adult drama, but in the guise of a children's TV show. So there was enough there to keep kids kind of entertained and things like that, but there was also this undercurrent of adult themes in there. And it handled both of those brilliantly. It's just some of the best writing I've seen on TV. So yeah, for me, Batman the Animated Series was number 1. It just like it blew me away. I said it blew me away. But there's loads of honorable mentions that I could go into as well. I mean, the Incredible Hulk is definitely one that would, if this was to be a top 10, then Incredible Hulk's definitely going on there. Legion is definitely going on there as well, and a few others that I can think of off the top of my head. But yeah, man, that's my list. So, listeners, if you have a favorite comic book TV show or TV shows, how would you rank them? And what do you like? Let us know. I'll tell you how to get in contact with us at the end of the show. But coming back to kind of streaming and the way we enjoy our TV and stuff like that. Guys, is there any kind of like streaming service that isn't out there right now that you would want to see in the future? Like basically, if you had the ability to set up your own streaming channel and make your own content available to you whenever you wanted, like
Yes,
what would that look like? Basically, is the question.
Yeah, sure. Give me
So
a second.
Alvin, to you first. What would you want to kind of stream?
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to disappear for 2 seconds. Yeah, so carry on doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's fine. Me and Alvin will
Okay,
talk.
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's going to sort out Luca because Luca's made his evening appearance again.
So the question was,
So yeah, sorry, I was saying, Alvin, what do you think? What kind of streaming service in an ideal world would you want? Is there anywhere where you feel like, I wish I could get this more often? I wish I could get that more often. I mean, you mentioned like sort of live TV broadcasts.
Yeah.
Being able to be streamed simultaneously. So would that be the ideal channel for you somewhere where
that would definitely be
you want live?
Because like I was saying earlier, it's just the best of both worlds. I mean, you can watch whatever live crap you need to watch, and then select after you're done with that. You can select whatever. You know what I mean? That's what I think would be like. If you've ever used Kodi before or a version of it, that's kind of like the service that I'd want, because people who use that, if like you've seen the videos online, there's like live TV that they can access on there, and then they have access to kind of stuff that they could use. That's pretty much the service that I would want. I'd also probably want some foreign language stuff in there, because there's some really good foreign language TV out there that we've either never heard of, because obviously it's kind of a hard sell. I mean, I can think of like 1 or 2 shows that have been on like Channel 4 that are like French shows. And what's that one? Wait, what's that one? The Crossing? Is that like that? Yeah, and stuff like that, and the original version of The Killing and stuff like that. But there's not that many. So yeah, I'd like to see like that added, just because like I don't fucking mind reading the subtitles as long as the story's good. I'll fucking read subtitles. I won't fucking complain about it. But yeah, I definitely like some more foreign language stuff, just because it's good TV is good TV, no matter what language it's in. So.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Funny you mentioned foreign language TV, because I've been kind of watching on and off a TV show from France called Braco, which is about like these cops in the kind of Paris ghettos, in the suburbs outside of Paris, dealing with like corruption, violence, drug dealing, and things like that. And the show's like been going for quite a few years in France. And recently the episodes have been made available on Netflix now. So I've just started watching a couple of them, and the show's really good, like really, really good. And I'm like you, I'm not bothered by like subtitles and things like that. One of the things that really makes me want to punch people in the face, to be quite honest, is when they won't watch something good because there's subtitles in it. It's like, oh no, I don't do subtitles. It's like, what you like, how
That's
lazy
like saying I don't do reading.
Yeah, like like, oh, it's too much effort to watch people talk on the TV and then read their words. Oh, like it just like really, really, that's too hard for you to do, is it? That frustrates the hell out of me. Sorry, listeners, but like this show Braco is really, really good, man. So yeah, I'm down for like plenty of foreign TV. I know Channel 4 have started this thing recently on their online catch-up service called Walter Recommends, where they recommend like kind of every week they'll put up like a new box set for a foreign TV show. And it's from like literally from places all over the world, and apparently some of them have been really good. I haven't watched any of them myself, but from what I've heard from other people, there's been some really good stuff from like Germany, from Iran, from Spain. Apparently there's like a prison show from Spain that's supposed to be brilliant. I've not even seen it yet, but there's loads of stuff out there, so I could totally understand why you would want that. Rich, you back with us?
Yeah, I'm back. If you guys are talking about like the foreign television,
well, no, it was more kind of like the question I wanted to get to you was basically if you could choose any kind of streaming type service that you wanted, what would it look like? So what would you want more of that you can't get enough of at the moment?
Wow. You know what? TV shows are forgotten errors. Like shows that are hard to get, or shows or films that are like really, really hard to get hold of. It's almost like a vintage channel. So like on a music channel, there's basically like on music channel, there's a channel called the vintage channel, and it just plays like doesn't play your standard music that you might have got like in the 90s or the 2000s or now.
Mm.
60s, and things like that. I would like that. Like, because I remember even you were saying the other day, Jay, when I think you were trying to find I can't remember what it was, but and I was like, okay, let's try and showbox. And it was like, listen, like some of these films are really hard to find. So like Ninja and the Dragon's Den, or like any kung fu flick, from our era, So the things like I remember watching a YouTube little story or little YouTube something this week, and they were talking about the Garbage Pail movie. I don't know if you remember when that film came out in the 80s. That's a film that
Sorry,
I never got to see because
sorry,
I
you broke
wasn't
up.
a
Richard, you broke up a little bit. Was that the Garbage Pail Kids? You said.
Garbage Pail Kids movie. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah. I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I never got a chance to see it because like I just wasn't allowed because it was meant to be like really, really vile and disgusting. But I know that it's very, very hard to get a hold of that film. Where you can get these type of things where it's just easily accessible because just because I can. The Fantastic Four movie that was made by Roger Corman in the 90s. I've seen it
Yeah.
but I've only seen it on VHS. There's gems out there that are so hard to get hold of, and I think it would be an interesting thing to be like, just to get things that it doesn't necessarily have to be trash, but something that you haven't seen of or heard of in years. Like, there was a lady at work who was telling me about a cartoon that she used to watch years ago when she was a kid, and she couldn't get it. She couldn't remember anything about it. She was trying to describe it to us, and we were like, okay, what is it? And she racked her brains for like ages, and she managed to find an image, and it ended up being like G-Force Battle for the Planets, which is like one of my favorite cartoons. But that's a cartoon that's hard to find. You know what I mean? So I think a channel like that would be really, really good.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, you kind of touched on it, but for me, my choice would be a dedicated channel or streaming service, Netflix style, purely for martial arts movies, but
Mm.
not kind of, because there's apps out there at the moment. Like I have a Roku device in my bedroom, and that allows you to kind of like install these third-party apps that other people have designed, developers have designed and stuff like that, and to stream movies. And there is one for kung fu. It's called Kung Fu Theater or something like that, but it's rubbish. It's really rubbish. Like they don't really have access to the kind of movies that you would want to see, and the user interface is terrible. So for me, what I would want is something that has the kind of usability of a Netflix, but with as many kung fu movies as I want to watch whenever I want to watch them. So until that kind of happens, I think that's why I've kind of kept my kung fu movie DVD collection, because until that happens, like I'm not getting rid of those movies because some of them are just too hard to find on online on the internet. I don't know if there are problems surrounding rights issues, which is probably the case. There's probably some legal case that's been being fought in some courtroom in America somewhere for the last 10 years, where somebody's trying to buy access and somebody else owns the rights and so on and so forth. That's usually the reason why these things happen. But that's what I would love. I would love to see something like that. That would get my money. They'd be able to take my money anytime with that. So yeah, that would be the dream for me. But yeah, listeners, if you have anything that you would like that isn't out there already, then let us know. As said, I'll let you know how you can get in touch at the end of the show. Okay, guys. What are the favorite shows that you're watching at the moment? Because I know we were talking earlier about like the amount of shows that we're watching, and one of the things of being able to stream things means that you're able to watch multiple things at once. So briefly, what are the kind of things that you're really kind of feeling right now? Alvin?
Does it have to be new, or is it old stuff, or
Just I would say probably new stuff. Yeah, if you stick to new stuff, that would be cool.
okay? Yeah, at the moment I'm not watching any new shows. I'm still on kind of like just the generic shit at the moment. I've not started anything new. I probably won't start anything new until the summer.
Well, that's that.
Oh, okay.
That's simple. Nothing new until the summer, pretty much. I mean, nah, because it's like everything's winding down now, innit? You know what I mean? So it's just like, yeah, there's been nothing kind of like really new. Like I don't think any new stuff is coming for a while. Stuff like Cloak and Dagger and Runaways and stuff like that. But to be honest, I don't even think I'll get to watch those because it's almost too much superhero shit now. You know what I mean? Got Titans coming because they're doing that now. You got Mega City 1 coming as well, which I'm looking forward to.
Mega City 1's coming.
Yeah, mate. They announced it yesterday. So, like, the game developer Rebellion, they own the rights to 2000 AD in it, and one of the producers on Dread now, they announced that they're doing a Just Dread Mega City 1 series, and it's kind of like an ensemble show. But it probably won't be coming until like next year or the year after. But everyone wants Carl Urban to be in it. But from the look of the poster that they released, it didn't look like it's set in that version of Judge Dredd. It seemed like it was kind of more. It looked more like the comic book with like flying cars about and all that kind of stuff. So who knows? But even if it is different and separate from the films, I'd want Carl Urban to still be in it because he's a wicked Judge Dredd. Whatever setting you put him in, I want to see it. I don't care if it's a sequel to the film or not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Rich, how about you? Is there anything that you've watched recently that you would recommend to people? What are your favorite kind of shows that you're watching right now or have just finished watching?
Literally, like I mentioned earlier, Sense8. I'm watching season 2. If anybody hasn't watched season 1, definitely get on it and give it a go. Written by the Wachowski sisters and J. Michael Straczynski. Obviously the Wachowskis, are known for like The Matrix and quite a few other things. And Straczynski is not only like a book writer, but he's also like done some really, really good, amazing comic book writings as well. Like he's done some amazing work on Amazing Spider-Man. Season 2, I'm on season 2 of that, and that's just an amazing show. So the stuff it deals with, race, business, just society in general, gender, sexuality. It's really, really good, and it's based in all of this done in a sci-fi setting. Really, really good. Dear White People is what I'm watching as well, and then I'd recommend. I mean, I've watched a movie of it, and I'm currently on this series, and that's a really interesting take on things that have been happening or becoming a lot more relevant due to like just the way how we operate now as a society with like social media and the internet. But yeah, that deals a lot with race and but done in a very, very smart way. And don't be fooled by the title, people. They're white people doesn't mean that or we don't want white people to watch it. It's just a very, very smart take on something that was made quite a few years ago. But I don't want to give too much away, but definitely just go and watch that. And then American Gods, obviously based on like the amazing book by Neil Gaiman, who I think is an underrated author or an author who doesn't really get the claim that he should. And hopefully this will push him into the limelight. Although I'm not sure if that's something that he wants, but push him into the limelight for that guy who did Game of Thrones, like he's like a star all of a sudden. But I think Gaiman blows him out of the water. But the TV show is a really, really good rendition of the book so far. So yeah, I'd say those 3 things. If you haven't started watching them, go and watch them now.
Yeah, damn straight. I put together a list of things that I can recommend to people because I couldn't separate. So from Netflix, I would say if you've got a Netflix account and you haven't streamed these already, get streaming them. House of Cards, I would recommend. It's political intrigue, but it's very, very dark. There is a lot of, you basically get a sense of how ridiculously ambitious some people are and how far they'll go to achieve their ambitions. I won't say more than that, but definitely worth a watch. The Get Down, Richard's favorite show from last year, or one of his most favorite shows from last year, is brilliant. I haven't watched the second part yet, admittedly, but the first part was stupendous. So go out and watch that if you haven't watched it already. Narcos is really good from Netflix as well. It's about the story of Pablo Escobar and his rise and fall. That's an excellent show. Stranger Things, we've talked about Stranger Things loads of times. it's just amazing. Like, there's nothing more to say. Just go and watch it. Orange is the New Black is a really good show as well. Really well done. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt was a lot of fun, a lot more fun than I thought it would be, and I've actually really enjoyed it. So go and check that out. Black Mirror, from Britain's own Charlie Brooker, brilliant series. Excellent series. Especially if you want things like Dear White People that are socially relevant in terms of the times that we live in today. Black Mirror is just absolutely perfect for that. So watch that. Bloodline is pretty good as well. I'm about halfway through season 2. It's a slow burn, but it's worth it. It's one of those that pays off big time at the end. So stick with it and check it out. And then, as Richard said, Dear White People is just a great show, hands down. So check that out. On the Amazon side, Richard already mentioned American Gods. American Gods is beautiful. Just it is mind blowing how beautiful that show is to look at. How incredible it is to watch these performances from these actors. It's just just absolutely fantastic. And I hope it's, like Richard said, it's the kind of thing that sends Neil Gaiman into the stratosphere in terms of superstardom. And he's got a lot of material that he's put out for many years, and those who are fans of him know his work and have been kind of raving about it for a long time. And finally, a wider audience is getting to see it through American Gods. And the show is only 2 episodes in, and it hasn't let us down at all. So definitely go check that out. Preacher as well is worth a look. Amazon, a really good adaptation of what is a seminal comic book series for comic book fans, but something that most people thought was impossible to adapt for the TV screen or for the movie screen, and yet somehow they've managed to pull it off, and they've done a really good job with it as well. So Preacher is worth a look. And finally, Transparent as well on Amazon, if you haven't seen that. Is a really good show as well. Again, not necessarily the type of show I would have watched if I didn't have a streaming service, but I stumbled across it, watched it, and loved it. So it's really worth checking out. Okay, that is it for that, I think. So let's get on to our audience questions. We did have one audience question that came in from Gabriella. Just bear me a second, guys. I'm going to pull this one up. This was a TV related question as well. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So, Gabriella, hey, Gabriella, how are you? I hope you're well. She said, I'll quote, so I'll just read this all out. This is kind of a long one, guys, so bear with her. I have a question. I remember when I just heard the story of it from the Stephen King book. Then a few years later, I saw the movie. By that time, even those easy, simple effects had me really terrified. Now, new movies and TV shows are using techniques that make your heart jump out from your body. And they're not even horror programs, just simple things like NCIS. Do you think that all these effects, all these things are getting more and more attention, and aggressive adverts and movies and shows can be blamed for aggression in the world? Because in my theory, they're making us more aggressive. And in this case, if you know the consequences of this power, would you be able to say, okay, I'm done with TV and I won't even turn it on no more? No more cinema or anything. I don't need this aggression in my life. So would you be able to stop watching TV? So basically what she's saying is, if it was shown to be that the kind of content that is out there, because there is some content out there that deals with violence and the violence of man against man, and deals with some of the kind of darker sides of humanity. If it was proven that these things had a negative impact on a person, would you have any trouble watching them, basically, or would you stop? So who wants to take that first?
Richard.
You're mad. You're crazy. I'll let you guys set the tone for that. That question's got me shook. Oh, what? The thing is, I mean, like, just speaking off the top of my head, the thing is, you just can't like attribute one thing to another. Like, so for example, like if something is proven to be more violent and and things like due to a TV show or to a movie, I mean, it's always going to depend on what type of context and how it's shown.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? That's number one. And number two, just if that thing's been gotten rid of, or if you stop watching it or participating in it, doesn't mean that it's not still going to be around.
Hmm.
I mean, just in case I'm going off topic, and like I said, I'm just speaking off the top of my head. But I remember like years ago, I did like a 40 days and 40 nights thing where I just abstained from sex, and I kid you not, within the first hour of me just watching TV, I it kicked in. I mean, obviously, it was subconsciously, like things just become hard anyway. And I'm not saying that in a literal sense. I'm just saying that that your mind is setting you up for this 40 days, and I became fully aware of how much sex is actually around me. I was watching like music videos, and it was just sex. Adverts, it was sex. Comic books, magazines, like it was just sex everywhere. So what I'm trying to say is that just getting rid of one thing doesn't mean it's going to solve the problem, especially if it's something that is, unfortunate to say, inherent in people anyway. Like, there's good people and there's bad people, and there's good people that do bad things. Stance. So you can't blame it on any one particular thing. Although, like you said, some things can contribute to other people something bonkers or something bad. But it might not. If just because you get rid of that doesn't mean that something else might not trigger that thing off. That's what I can add to that question. I mean, maybe I might be able to add in something else when you guys talk. But I mean, I think that's a pretty much decent. Wouldn't you agree?
Okay, cool. Alvin, your turn. Thoughts?
Uh, I like the question. It's a good question to start off with, but I'm not a big fan of X equals Y or X causes people to do Y. Just because there's things that I like video games, for example, where people have tried to suggest that, and I just don't react well to it, just because I've partaken in, like, as a child, playing games like Mortal Kombat, but I've never done a fatality on anyone. You know what I mean? So even if it did affect people in a negative kind of way, as long as I'm not one of those people, then I'll still watch it. I'll still watch whatever it is that is saying having a negative effect on people. If it's still allowed to exist and it's not causing me to do any harm or whatever, or have more aggression or anything like that, then I'd have no problem with me watching it, and anyone else who's not affected by it still watching it or whatever. That's my answer.
Cool, cool. Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, for me, it's a really good question, first of all, Gabriella. Thank you for asking. It's one of those things that people have been kind of toying with and researching for quite a long time. I mean, I don't know if you know this, Gabriella, but there's been like a number of studies conducted at universities into the effects of things like violent images and violent movies and violent video games and things like that, and the effects that they have on the human psyche. The evidence and the findings that always comes back are always a bit inconclusive, in a sense that there is some evidence that some people who are perceptible to these types of things and respond to these types of things will respond in a negative way if they're given that kind of information. But obviously, that's not the case for everybody. For some people, they're capable of absorbing many different types of information, including sort of violent images and violent films and things like that, and never have any issue at all with separating sort of reality from fantasy. So it's hard to say whether you would. I mean, on the one hand, I guess if it happened to somebody I knew, and particularly somebody I cared about, and they were having a negative response to seeing things and hearing things in that way, then I guess for me, yeah, that might shape my opinion. I may think differently, but it fortunately has not happened to anybody that I know about or care about. And as Alvin said, there's like lots of examples of people who kind of go through life and are never bothered by these kinds of things or disturbed by them in a way that outputs itself in violence. That said, I do believe that there is a certain amount of responsibility that people should exercise with these things, in a sense that people need to put violent, movies, TV shows, video games, all of those kind of things into the correct context. In a sense that whenever you are watching something on TV, you kind of have to understand that this is just TV. This is just uh, some artist's way of explaining and interpreting a specific worldview through their art. And once you view it through that prism, then it doesn't, or I don't think it has that kind of same impact on you, that same negative impact. But yeah, I mean, it's tricky. Which, as I said, I don't know. I mean, if somebody I know was being badly affected by that, maybe I would change my mind and think, you know what, you need to step back a little bit. I mean, I'm a big believer in not in censorship as such, but in exercising a said responsibility. So, for example, if I had a young child, would I be happy for a young child to watch some of the things that I watch on TV? And the answer would be no, because as much as I'm this child's parent and I am responsible for the way that they behave and for the information they get and how they interpret the information that they get, um, ultimately, I don't want them to be exposed to things that they themselves are not mature enough to understand and to place in the right context. And I think that can be damaging. When you do have young people who are exposed to things that perhaps they shouldn't have been at a point in their lives where, emotionally and, from an intelligence point of view, they're not mature enough to deal with that. So yeah, you do have to kind of exercise some kind of common sense, I think, when it comes to these kind of things. But yeah, that's a good question, Gabriella. As I said, you've stumped all three of us with that one. So yeah, it's tricky. Did anybody want to quickly follow up?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, just because that's kind of dark, man. Like Gabriella, I mean, like, thank you very much for like use our brains and everything, but you've kind of put it down on my night, man. like, damn, like, jeez. Like, Jay, you did mention that there's been studies, and I mean, like, we've known about. I mean, all three of us have known about these type of things like for years. But I'm just gonna put something out there. So the people that do these studies and come up with these results, Watchmen. That's all I'm gonna say, man. If you
Sorry,
get
say
what I
that
mean, and
again.
like,
You cut off just then.
like, sorry. So yeah, so like who oh damn it, like I set it up perfectly and the punchline was just gonna was gonna raise our spirits, and like I was gonna say, like, the people who do these experiments, or like these studies, and and come up with some form of results as to some of these things, and like what's violent and what's not, that to us and helps us know what we're allowed to show and what and not what shows, whatever. But those people, like, who, you understand, like who watches the Watchmen, because one thing that they may say is, can cause problems for one person. Who's to say that that's the end all and be all. I've always found that very, very interesting, because it obviously has to come, for example, if you've got like classifications for films or TV, did 18 because of X, Y, and Z. But then if they know it's been given that rating for a particular reason, what makes them bother them in a particular way? So I've always found those things, especially when it comes to different parts of the world, of what you're allowed to show and what you can't show. But I just thought I'd throw it out there just to make things a little bit more difficult. A topic for another time.
Yeah, definitely. But Gabriella, thank you. That is an excellent question, as said. So thank you very much for adding that. And if you have a question that you want to give to us, then by all means get in touch with us. You can reach us via email at wulongtalkspodcast@gmail.com. You can send your question in there, or if you follow us on social media, we'll give you a social media shout out. But I'll let you know the social media contact stuff at the end. But let's quickly go to the question of the week as well. So the question of the week this week on social media, thank you to everybody who participated in this one. It's great because we always get people who listen along to the show and get involved with the question of the week. So thank you to all of you. The question this week was, what was your favorite TV duo? Now, I said Dastardly and Muttley, the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, because I just love them. Rich, you said Father Ted and Dougal, right?
Yep, Father Ted and Dougal. They're the ones.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I would go to church I would go to church specifically for those two.
Yeah, definitely. Church would definitely be more lively with them. But Alvin, we didn't get one from you. So, what would be your favorite TV duo?
That's such a hard question though, because there's so fucking many, and I don't know whether to go recent or a bit old.
All right. Do you want us to come back to you at the end? I'll read out some of these.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, got to say big up to the Armstrong gang. They said Hong Kong Phooey and Spot. Christina Allegria Williams said Mulder and Scully. Gambit 28 said Pinky and the Brain. Orlando Ali every day. Sorry, said Ren and Stimpy. Tam the Man said Moss and Roy. Glenn and Herpod said Martin and Gina. D33K said Wiley Coyote and Roadrunner. Colleen said Emma Swan and Captain Hook from Once Upon a Time. Taya said Maddie and David from Moonlighting. James said Starsky and Hutch. And Roxanne said Meredith and Christina from Grey's Anatomy. And I can't believe no British people said Del Boy Rodney from Only like that. That's,
you know what?
Listen, all you Brits who are listening to this, shame on you. Shame on you for not mentioning two pillars of British television, Del Boy and Rodney. That is absolutely outrageous. So yeah, we have to throw some love to Del Boy and Rodney, man. Come on. That's terrible. But Alvin, any thoughts?
Do you want me to do my comedy one first?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So Dean Gaffney and Wellard in it in EastEnders. And a actual serious one. Man, I'm gonna have to go Mordecai and Rigby regular show.
Cool.
Okay.
Fair enough. Rich, did you have anybody who responded to that question for you?
Yeah, I did. But in response to your, remember what Gambit 28 said about? I think he actually said it wrong. I think you were meant to say Pinky and the Brain. I think that's how it goes. That's how I remember it. Florian and Gems said Rick and Morty.
Cool.
Bring up the other one. I mean, I still haven't seen Rick and Morty, but I've only heard good things about that character. Friend Josh Partner 7 said Tom and Jerry.
Oh, classic.
Dreamers said Danger Mouse and Penfolds, which is I suppose that's probably the closest thing. Yeah, that's the closest thing we've got to Doughboy and Rodney, isn't it? Like,
yeah, true.
And then Trocell said she would like to say Dean and Sam Winchester, but she reckons it's Dean Winchester and Castiel. And then my favorite, which I'm really surprised I didn't think of, DJ Blade said Monkey and Pigsy.
Yeah, boy.
Nice. Old school. Okay, I like that. All right, cool, man. Well, as said, thank you everybody who got involved in the question of the week. We really appreciate it when the listeners get involved and interact with us. So as you know, we'll be doing this as an ongoing thing. So if you want to get involved with the question of the week, then you just need to follow us on social media. So pop along to Instagram and look for Wulong Talks there, and you'll find us. Just follow us, and you'll get to join in on the fun. Also, don't forget you can catch us on Twitter as well at Wulong Talks, and also on Facebook at Wulong Talks also. Okay, well, I think that's going to wrap it up for now, man. We've done a good session here on TV. So hopefully we've given you lots some things to have a look at if you haven't had a look at them already. So yeah, let's kick out, man. Alvin, do you want to say how people can get in touch with you and let them know if you're doing anything with the YouTube channel this week?
Yeah, you can catch me on Twitter and what's the other one? Oh, Instagram at BigA85GL. That's the username. YouTube, you know what? It's like it's been a bit lazy, innit? Because but I will be doing stuff eventually. So yeah, you can get links to that from either the Twitter or the Instagram. I almost call it Facebook. I don't know why I do that, but yeah, whatever.
Cool. Rich, and you, where can people get you at?
Instagram on Rich Reviews, Twitter Rich Reviews. Obviously, we're on Instagram under Wulong Talks as well, and obviously the website www.wulongtalks.com.
Cool. And don't forget, listeners, we're also available on iTunes, Stitcher, and Acast. So if you like what we do, you can follow us on there. Just subscribe, share the podcast around if you want to with people who you think might be interested in it. And yeah, by all means, just give us a shout out, man, and drop us a line, give us a tweet, send us a little message on Instagram. You can slide up in our DMs. That's all good. We don't mind. Yeah, come along and have a chat with us and let us know what you think about what we do. And if there's any things that you want us to cover as well, then yeah, let us know. All right, that'll do it, man. So let's say goodnight because I need to go and eat, guys. I'm really hungry. I'm eating way too much pizza, I've got another pizza tonight, and that's not good. That's not good. Oh, yeah. I'm never going to get on this healthy eating thing. All right, let me say goodnight, people. So, Alvin, say goodnight.
Night. See you later.
Rich Kid, say goodnight.
Good night.
Cool, and I'm out here, people. We'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Peace.